Navigating the legal world can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The Indiana Lawyer Podcast is here to help you understand the laws impacting your life, work, and community. Whether you're a legal professional, a business owner, or someone who wants to know how Indiana law shapes the world around you, this podcast is for you. Hosted by Alexa Schrake, a passionate legal reporter, we're here to bring you clarity and insights like no one else can. This podcast is brought to you by Taft, today's modern law firm.
I sat down with Kyle Fairchild, corporate counsel at Penske Entertainment, to talk about most Hoosiers' favorite time of the year, the Indianapolis 500. What happens behind the scenes that many don't ever think about while walking around the track and speedway. But before we get into it, let's hear from our sponsor, Taft.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
I'm here in our Monument Circle studio with corporate counsel at Penske Entertainment, Kyle Fairchild. The Indianapolis 500 will be here in no time, but a lot goes into the greatest spectacle in the world behind the scenes. So to start, Kyle, the Racing Attorney Conference is coming up. It's also known as TRAC.
Yep.
But it will have passed once this episode comes out. Can you tell me a little bit about this conference?
Sure. Yeah. So TRAC is an annual event, conference, seminar, whatever you want to call it, amongst attorneys that deal in motorsports, whether that's from teams, or venues, Penske Entertainment folks, people that deal with suppliers. So it's a way that you can get continuing legal education. So we give 8 hours. It's a 2-day seminar. And then it's really just to network and get to know folks that are doing stuff similar to you. But it's not only limited to those folks. If people were interested in motorsports and they wanted to get CLE credit and learn a little bit, we'd welcome them as well. So it's been going on for quite some time. It was revamped after the pandemic. So we're in our third year after a 4-year hiatus, I believe, starting in 2019. So we're back in Indianapolis this year.
Is it always held in Indianapolis?
It goes back and forth. It used to go back and forth between North Carolina and Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Bar Association hosts, or used to host when it was here. They have since taken it over as sort of one of their events. And now we kind of take it on the road. Last year we were in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas. The year prior we were at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We are hopefully going to take it outside of Indiana next year and the following, and then we'll shuffle Indianapolis back in kind of every 3, 4, 5-ish years is the plan, since the Bar Association hosts it for us. And this year we are back in Indy. We are at the Lucas Oil Raceway Park and for one day, and then the Dallara factory in Speedway on Main Street on day 2.
Do you have a session that you're looking forward to?
We try to diversify the sessions each year. We are doing a session that we haven't done in a couple years this year. It's the legislative update. So we're going to have somebody kind of give us what's happening, what has happened, what's coming, whether that's legislation or case law or stuff like that. So that's exciting. Sort of something that's maybe a little more cutting edge is this idea of private equity in sports. So we're excited to have a discussion on that. And then I guess maybe the one I'm most excited about is we have a panel with some drivers that are represented by one of our committee members, I believe. And he's going to have a conversation with them about, navigating coming to America and racing in a series that's here. And so that'll having the drivers there is always interesting perspective. They're not lawyers, but they navigate a lot of the same issues with what they sign and their contracts and their waivers and their insurance. So should be pretty interesting.
I think I saw that on the list on the website.
Yeah.
And it looked like, I want to say from England. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think James Rowe is one of them. I'm not going to come up with him off the top of my head. And then Lockie Hughes, I think. Mm-hmm. And then one more that I is escaping me at the moment. But Wes Zirkle is gonna moderate that, and he'll do a great job.
I think that's the representing drivers
Correct
panel.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems
that'll
fun.
be a good one. And we saved it. I think it's last, so keep people around to see the drivers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. One of the other sessions that I saw that I thought was interesting was the generative AI in motorsports panel. I know you said you don't have too much to say on that.
Yeah,
but that's all right.
I'm not planning that one. I think it's something that we'll keep our pulse on. We don't deal a ton of it with it at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at this point, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who are. So trying to keep things on the list that are obviously cutting edge, right? And that's certainly one of them. I think there's a lot of issues that could happen with that merging with motorsports. And so, again, I'm not planning it, so we'll see what happens and if we keep it on the list for future conferences.
One of the other sessions, which you've kind of said this a little bit already, is like cutting edge case law is one of those. What are some of the recent case law developments in motorsports and entertainment that you've been following?
Yeah.
Because the one that comes to mind for me is the one with Alex Pelot and the breach of contract with McLaren.
Yeah, so those are all team issues. We don't deal really with the teams from our perspective. I think the stuff that we want to be tracking in that sort of session would be, have any waivers or any releases been challenged, and what was the outcome of those, right? Because, it's at the end of the day, we have a lot of restricted areas. They can be dangerous. Motorsports inherently is dangerous. So we want to make sure that our language in any of our, at least from a Penske Entertainment standpoint, we want to monitor that. And then I think kind of taking that one, we're looking for kind of some info on what might be new and cutting edge, right? This hasn't been on our list for seminars in a while. So to learn a little bit from the presenter, I think I'm excited for that and see maybe what we need to be looking at. So I don't mean to turn the question on its head, but a little bit, I'm kind of wait and see, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest one is always, are there been any releases, waivers challenged, indemnification language, that kind of stuff that we just need to keep up on and always, keep updating and make sure we're airtight on those items.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get into this area of law?
So my prior role, I was at the Horizon League here in Indianapolis, the only Division I athletic conference. I went to law school at IU McKinney. And I externed at the NCAA and at USA Track and Field and kind of knew I wanted to get into the sports side of the world. I went to Chicago for a little bit to work at Loyola. They were in the Horizon League at the time and met the fine folks at the conference office. I was there about 9 years, loved it, still am really great friends with all of them, and what they've been doing in town is great. And, they just hosted their basketball tournament and all those items, and love those folks. But sort of wanted to stay in Indy, always had a draw to the Speedway. My family has been involved at the Speedway for many, many years. I was getting married. I got married in July of 21. My wife's from here. We wanted to stay here. Not that the Horizon League was going anywhere, but it was one of those things that, unless it was probably for this type of job, I'm not sure I would still probably be sitting at the Horizon League working. But it was one of those things where I kind of had built my resume for sports, and this was a great next step. And November of 21 happened, and so I've been there almost coming up on 4 years.
Yeah, well, that's exciting.
Yeah. During law school, I sort of wanted to pursue this sports idea and kind of a step-by-step approach, and here we are. Actually, and the real reason it kind of came about was my colleague now, Jimmy McMillan. He was our Bar Leader Series, which is a professional development series that the Bar Association puts on. He was our chair. I was in the cohort that he was leading, and this job came up, and so I emailed him, and he said, well, you should apply. I mean, he didn't give me the job, but he said, I think you'd be a good fit, and we went through the interview process, and here we are. Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. So what does an average day look like for you working at Penske Entertainment?
I wish there was a great average day. I mean, I'm sure most people in the legal world would tell you there's not. It kind of depends on, the last phone call you got or, the most recent email, right? But we deal mostly, if not primarily, in contract world, transactional work. So I kind of try to separate it. We do all the work for IndyCar as the sanctioning body of the series, if you will. We do all the legal work for IMS as a venue and a promoter of the 500. And then Indianapolis Motor Speedway Productions is our production company so we really have 3 companies under Penske Entertainment. And then more recently, we have taken on the promoter role for a race in Iowa and a race in Nashville. And so that also brings other challenges, right? So we're kind of trying to scale some of those up. Iowa's been around a while. Nashville is kind of a new thing, at least for us to promote. The event's been around a little bit, a couple years. So you never know which bucket of work you're kind of going to get to do something in that day. But most of it is reviewing contracts, drafting contracts, dealing with your business client in-house to advise them on kind of some do's and don'ts. And then, the more fun part is once event season comes around, we're kind of out and about making sure things are going okay. We're checking in with our risk management. We're checking in at the infield care hospital, stuff like that. So event season's always fun. We kind of have a 3-prong kind of, I don't think it's a joke, but it's sort of the easier way to break down what we do. First off, we want everybody that comes through the door to have fun. And there's usually contracts for, things that make people have fun. If they don't have fun, hopefully something didn't go wrong. And if it does go wrong, hopefully we're insured for it. And then if we're not insured for it, hopefully somebody else is indemnifying us for what's wrong. So that's sort of the legal way of what we do in a nutshell, if that makes any sense. So first off, everybody's got to have a good time.
How does that translate for the Indy 500? Such a big event here in Indy. I'm sure you have just tons of contracts you have to deal with as far as, just you have like the snake pit we talked about earlier about.
Yeah. So like you got to do the music contracts.
Yeah,
my colleague Jimmy does those. Everybody who rents a suite or, they get a suite license agreement. Really, if you look around, almost everything that you see is somehow papered or is on a form contract or something of that nature. And it's kind of cool once it all comes to life, right? Right now, we're still kind of getting the pieces together. The venues sort of come into life, kind of like we are outside. And then it'll kind of start happening and people start showing up and you'll see, oh yeah, I worked on that, in January. And then all of a sudden it's ready to go. So I deal with our facilities team. So a lot of the improvements or stuff that folks might see that they didn't see last year over the off season, we do a lot of that paperwork and contracting. So it's kind of cool to see things that have been changed since last season when you're out and about walking around. So yeah, those are kind of the fun parts of the job when you get to see things come to life. Like you said, the snake pit, you got to have somebody to build the stage. Well, that requires a contract. So we could go on and on all day if we wanted to.
Every little piece of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Has it changed how, like when I don't know if you go to the 500 or if like any of those events, like if you go to it, does it change how you see it?
Yeah, you definitely see it a little bit differently. I did go to the 500 growing up. My family, we have a big block of tickets, 50 some together, and we have a big tailgate and we all go together. I don't go with them anymore. I'm not there as a fan. There as an employee. I go and see them, which is fun. But yeah, you look at things a little different at events. I mean, that's no different than any other event, right? You go as a fan, but you kind of notice stuff that probably the average person who's not dealing or working in events might not see. But, if you're at for instance, a Pacers game and you might see something, but you're not harping on it. But at the 500, definitely a little more alert of what's going on, more so than I was when I was a fan, obviously, and not getting to do this exact same things, right? We're not watching every single lap. We know a little bit what's going on. There's a bunch of TVs around, but we're not watching it as a fan. So a sacrifice that you make to work at the Speedway.
Yeah. And you said, at the 500, like, do you get to be in your office? You said it was on turn one.
Sometimes it depends on the month of May is kind of a mixed bag. Some days we'll have to be in our office to get something turned quickly. Other days we'll be out and about, checking in on stuff, seeing what's going on around the grounds. We always go to the midway, a lot of those contracts, and make sure, see how it all comes to life. That's always exciting. So yeah, I don't think we're not really in our office per se, but we might have to go to the office if something comes up that's urgent or you need to, have a phone call or something like that. So Yeah, not a far, either a golf cart ride or a decent walk in the nice weather. It's never a bad thing to get out and about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What is your favorite thing about the 500? Do you have like a favorite memory?
Just the pre-race, that kind of hour before. There's really nothing like it, in my opinion, on the planet. I think it's, Memorial Day weekend tradition. There's the national anthem, the Back Home Again in Indiana, the flyover. You can't describe it unless you've seen it, right? And so that every year can be whoever's singing, no matter what it is. That's always my favorite part. Whether you're a fan, you've been there once, you've been there for 75 years. I think everybody appreciates what that's all about. And yeah, then the race happens, which is awesome. But the pre-race to me is kind of what gets me. And I always, once it's over, I'm like, all right, we got to wait another year for all that stuff. So
yeah. I saw, because I haven't been yet, but I do need to go to the museum, the new
the new
museum.
starting line experience. That it's fantastic. So cool. The museum is now open, ready for business. They opened on April 2nd, I believe. So yeah, there's once you enter the museum, you go through Gasoline Alley and then you go around the corner and there's this video that really, it'll take your breath away. It's almost like you're live at the starting line, but it's all video boards and sound, and it's spectacular.
Yeah. I've only seen videos.
Yes, I will give them a commercial. Anybody should go. The new museum is fantastic.
Yeah, it looks great. Do you have a favorite driver that you root for?
I've had a lot of people I've rooted for over the years. Funny story, I guess. My family has become really good friends with Jack Harvey. So he was an IndyCar series driver for the last couple of years. He's driving in the 500 this year for Dreyer Reinbold. My aunt met him at a gym back in the day. I don't know when, probably 2016, 2017 maybe. And now we're friends with his parents, and Jack comes over for family dinners and stuff like that. So if I didn't say Jack, I think I would get in trouble. He's a great guy. He's doing a great job. He's now on Fox as a pit reporter. I think it's actually his birthday today as we record this. So happy birthday to Jack. But he's just because he's a friend, right? More so than any of the other drivers. But as long as it's a good race and everybody stays safe, then I'm happy.
We're coming up in May, coming up on the event. Do you know how the ticket sales are looking this year?
So far, from what I'm hearing around our office and from our marketing and ticketing team, sales are good, trending up. I think our benchmark is 2016, the 100th running, and I don't know exacts because I don't deal in that space very often, but I know they're excited about the sales numbers, and they keep telling people to go buy their tickets. Hopefully, I guess the goal is to not have any left to sell. So go buy your tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that covers the questions I had for you. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, not today. I don't think so. Just more so from TRAC, we would love to continue to expand our reach. We've got 75 lawyers coming this year, and we're always trying to grow it. So if anyone has interest, feel free to reach out to the Indy Bar or myself, or there's a planning committee that you can find online, and we'd love to welcome any even non-motorsports attorneys that would want to join us and come learn a little bit about kind of this space. And it's also a great opportunity for law students to come. We've got a couple coming this year, so kind of a commercial for TRAC, I guess, even though it already happened. We're going to have it annually, so we'd welcome anybody to join us.
Yeah. Is it open internationally?
We have a couple international folks that are coming more so as speakers this year. We have some either past panelists or attendees that have relationships, whether it's, overseas for F1 stuff or just international teams that they do some work for, and they've sort of plugged those folks in. So this year, I know we have 2 panelists international. We were supposed to have a third, but a conflict came up. And so I guess the short answer to your question is yes. And we're just going to continue to try to grow it as it kind of relaunches. I guess we're still back in its infancy. Year 3 of the relaunch is sort of what we're calling it. And we'd love for it to get to 200 attorneys. We're at 75. If we can keep growing it, it'd be awesome. Yeah. Just gives us more opportunity for sponsorship and growing it and get better speakers. And even to your point, folks from bring somebody over to talk international, right?
So that will do for this week's interview. Kyle, thank you again for joining me today. To our listeners, head over to theindianalawyer.com to read more legal news. Until next time, you can listen to past episodes wherever you get your podcasts.